Okay, let's talk about crispy noodles. But, hang on. We're not just talking about, sprinkling some fried bits on soup.
No, not at all.
We're diving into a dish that's like a cornerstone in Nagasaki, Japan. It's got this really unique story and honestly a name that kind of makes you scratch your head, especially when you find out what noodles are actually in it.
Yeah, we're talking Sara Udon.
Sara Udon.
That's the one. It's super local, but famous all over Japan. But it's packed with history, culture, even a little bit of, like, friendly debate within Nagasaki itself.
It sounds like it. Way more than just noodles on a plate.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've got a good pile of sources here, articles, notes you shared, hitting everything from, well, a surprising start, the different kinds you find today, the whole culture around eating it.
Right, and even where you can actually go and try it.
Exactly. So our mission today, let's unpack this thing. Let's figure out what Sara Udon actually is, why it's such a big deal in Nagasaki and, beyond.
And really pull out the interesting bits from its story, see how it went from one chef's idea to this, well, nationwide dish with all these local twists.
Okay, let's jump in. At its heart, what is Sara Udon?
Well, basically, it's a local Nagasaki dish.
Mm-hmm.
Our sources pin its origin to 1899. A chef named Chen Ho-jun at the Shikairu restaurant, which is still famous today.
Chikaru. Okay.
And the idea was taking another Nagasaki special, chanpon, the big noodle soup.
Yeah, hearty stuff.
Right, taking that, but making a version without the soup.
Ah, okay. So like a dry chanpon. That was the beginning. But it's not just one dish now, is it? The sources really emphasize there are two distinct types under the same name.
Yeah, and that's one of the really fascinating parts. First, you've got the thin men Sara Udon. That's probably the one most people outside Nagasaki picture. Super thin noodles, deep fried, so they're incredibly crispy, almost brittle.
Right, that classic crunch.
And it's topped with this thick, starchy sauce. Loads of ingredients in there.
Okay, and the other one?
That's the thick men Sara Udon. And this one uses the same kind of thick, chewy noodles you find in chanpon soup.
Oh, really? So completely different texture.
Totally. People sometimes describe it as like baked chanpon or maybe close to a stir fry, but with that sauce element.
And you mentioned the folks in Nagasaki really see these as separate things.
Oh, absolutely. The sources make that clear. For locals, it's a very important distinction. You're either a thin noodle person or a thick noodle person.
Okay. A friendly rivalry.
Kind of. But despite the different noodles and cooking, they both have that signature, thick, starchy sauce, usually full of stuff like pork, shrimp, squid, lots of veggies.
Got it. And there's that thing about adding sauce while you eat.
Yes, that's key, especially in Nagasaki. It's very common to add their local Worcestershire sauce, or sometimes vinegar, right onto the plate as you go.
Interesting. Okay, let's tackle the name. Udon. In Japan, that means thick wheat noodles, right? But you just said Sara Udon uses Chinese noodles, either super thin fried ones or the thick chanpon type. So why Sara Udon?
Right, that's the curveball. Sara Udon literally means plate udon.
Play udon.
Yeah. The sources explain that back when it was invented, noodle dishes pretty much always came in deep bowls. Serving this new dish on a shallow, flat plate as Sara was really unusual, kind of shocking at the time.
No way. So the udon part isn't about the noodle type at all. It's named after the plate because serving noodles on a plate was the surprising part.
Exactly. It was all about the presentation. And, get this, the original Sara Udon, the one Chen Hai-jun first made at Shikairu, that wasn't the crispy thin one.
It wasn't.
Nope. It was the thick noodle version.
The thick noodle one came first.
Hmm.
Why that version?
Well, think about it. It was adapted from chanpon, but made easier for delivery. Less soup, more of a baked or a stir-fried thing, much easier to carry around without spilling. Perfect for getting food out to students or workers back then.
Ah, okay. Delivery friendly. Makes sense.
So then where did the crispy thin version pop up? That came along a bit later, developed by another chef at Shikaru, Chen Pingjian. And the sources say his thinking was all about convenience and speed.
Speed! How so?
You could fry up those thin noodles in big batches ahead of time. Then, when an order came in, you just had to heat the sauce and topping and pour it over. Much quicker to serve, especially when things got busy.
Right. Pre-prep the noodles. Smart. And I guess that made it easier for others to copy too.
Exactly. That thin noodle version was much easier for other restaurants and even home cooks to make meat between it, because the crispy noodles could be bought or made in advance. That practicality is probably why it spread so widely across Japan.
So the thin one became the famous one nationally, while the original thick one stayed more of a Nagasaki thing.
Pretty much, yeah. The thick noodle one remained this beloved local original, while the thin, crispy one became what most people outside Nagasaki think of as Sara Udon.
Wow, okay. Two paths from one dish, same name. Let's dig into those cultural bits the sources mentioned the three attractions. First one, the coexistence of two personalities.
Yeah, this really gets to the heart of it in Nagasaki. You've got these two degas, same name, same basic sauce idea, but totally different feelings because of the noodles. And locals, they often have strong opinions.
Hmm.
You're kind of in the thick noodle camp or the thin noodle camp.
Like a local food identity thing.
Hmm.
The sources mention the thick noodle one is maybe seen as like easier on the stomach, and tourists often seek it out for that authentic original taste you don't find everywhere else.
That's right. It connects you right back to the start. Okay, second attraction. Entertainment value of changing textures and tastes.
Ah, this is the bit I love about the thin noodle version. That first bite is pure crunch.
Exactly. Super satisfying. But then, as those noodles sit in that hot, thick sauce, they start to soften up.
Yeah, they absorb it.
Right. So you get this really cool texture shift happening right on your plate as you eat.
Mhm.
From really crispy to kind of tender and chewy.
It'll show, and then adding the sauces comes in here too.
Yeah, that's the other part of the entertainment. The sources call it an experience, especially for visitors. You're not just passively eating, you're actively changing the taste. Add some of that Nagasaki Worcestershire, add vinegar, maybe some mustard.
You customize it as you go.
Yeah, find your perfect mix or just enjoy different flavors bite by bite. It makes eating more interactive.
Very cool. And the third attraction ties it all back. Embodies history and cross-cultural exchange.
This dish is basically Nagasaki's history served up. Remember, Nagasaki was this unique port city, one of the only places open to foreign contact, especially China, during Japan's isolation period.
Right, Dejima Island and all that.
Exactly. So you had this intense mixing of cultures, and Sara Udon is a direct product of that. It's a blend of Chinese cooking ideas adapted with Japanese tastes and ingredients, born right there in that specific melting pot.
So it's not just from Nagasaki, it is Nagasaki history on a plate.
In a way, yeah. And Shikairu, the birthplace restaurant. It's not just some random spot. It's near historical sites like Glover Garden, has great views, and they even have a Champon museum inside the restaurant.
Wait, a museum in the restaurant? Seriously?
Yeah. So you can literally be eating the diff while learning about its history and seeing artifacts related to it.
That's amazing. Talk about bringing history to life. Connects the food, the place, the story. All right there.
It really does. It makes it a whole experience.
Okay, so I'm definitely getting hungry now. For anyone listening thinking, right, I need to try this, the sources give us some examples showing how you can find it, from big chains to the original spot, and even regional takes.
Yeah, let's start with the easiest one for many people, Ringer Hut. It's a big chain all over Japan, not just in Kyushu, so pretty accessible.
Okay, Ringer Hut, what's their Sara Udon like?
They do the thin noodle version. Ultra thin, actually. The sources say they steam the noodles first, then fry them, which helps get them extra crispy.
Steam then fry. Interesting technique.
Yeah. And their sauce is known for having tons of ingredients. The notes mention 7 kinds of vegetables and 11 other things, like pork, shrimp, squid bits. When you get it, they usually suggest adding wasagarashi, that sharp Japanese mustard or vinegar, or sauce. Lets you play with it.
Got it. Reliable, widespread option. But if you want the pilgrimage, the original experience.
Then you head to Shikairu in Nagasaki, the birthplace. And if you want that original style, you're probably ordering the thick noodle Sara Udon there.
And how do they make the original version? Is it different from just pouring sauce over?
Oh yeah, totally different process. The sources describe it. They stir-fry the ingredients, pork, seafood, veggies really fast in lard. Then they add just a bit of their special broth, a mix of chicken and pork bone.
That sounds good.
And then they add the thick champon noodles right into that pan, tossing it all together so the noodles really soak up that flavorful liquid. It's less sauce on top and more integrated. And the place itself is iconic. The building, the view over the harbor. It's an event.
Wow. Different noodle, different method, right back to the roots. And the sources mention another twist, a regional version.
Right. It shows how the dish traveled and changed. In Fukuoka, you find Hakata Sara Udon. A place like Ganso Pekechi is famous for it.
Hakata style. How's that different?
Typically uses even thicker noodles than the Nagasaki thick style. Sometimes people just call it champon without soup, but it's got its own Hakata identity.
Thicker still. Okay.
And a key thing they highlight is the ratio loads of ingredients compared to noodles, like 1 to 1 or sometimes even more toppings than noodles. They use things like clams, scallops, different fish cakes, cabbage, bean sprouts. Really packed.
Sounds substantial. And the seasoning's different, too.
Yeah, reflecting local Fukuoka tastes. Instead of just the Nagasaki Worcestershire, Ganzo Pekaichi offers vinegar and also their own special homemade vinegared soy sauce with bonito dashi in it.
Oh, dashi and the vinegar sauce. That adds a whole other layer of umami.
Exactly. It really shows how a dish evolves and adapts to local preferences as it spreads.
That whole culture of adding sauces is so central, isn't it? And there's some specific history behind the Nagasaki sauce.
There is, and it's pretty cool. That Kincho Worcestershire sauce, the traditional one in Nagasaki, wasn't just some random brand. It was developed back in the early Showa era by a local soy sauce maker, Mr. Chochi Kuroda, working together with Mr. Haijin Chen.
The founder of Shikairu, the inventor of Sara Udon.
The very same. They apparently collaborated to create a sauce specifically balanced for the Sara Udon, maybe to cut through the richness or sweetness of the bean paste, sometimes used in the topping.
Wow. The dish's inventor worked with a local sauce guy to make the perfect condiment for it. That's incredible dedication to the whole eating experience.
It really is. It shows how important the dish was, that they'd fine-tune the condiments specifically for it. Just amazing local synergy.
And now you have these regional preferences, like the vinegar versus sauce debate in Fukuoka you mentioned.
Right. And it keeps evolving. The sources
Yeah.
even noted a modern thing where people mix vinegar and sauce together, vinegar sauce. It just shows the dish invites you to make it your own.
Okay, so let's bring this home for the listener. Based on everything, what are the best ways to really appreciate Sara Udon if you get the chance to try it?
Okay, first, if you're having the thin noodle kind, really pay attention to that texture change. Don't just wolf it down. Notice how it goes from super crunchy at the start to softer as it soaks up that sauce. It's part of the fun.
Savor the sogginess. Well, the transformation, anyway.
Huh, exactly. Second, definitely mess around with the seasonings. Don't be shy. Use the Worcestershire, the vinegar, the mustard if it's there. The sources even suggest like mentally dividing your plate and trying different sauces on different parts.
Oh, like a little tasting experiment on one plate.
Yeah. See what you prefer or just enjoy the variety within one meal. It's expected, you know.
Right. Don't feel weird about doctoring it up.
Not at all. And finally, just appreciate its versatility. While the classic Nagasaki versions are defined, remember the core idea. Noodles, plate, thick sauce can be played with. The sources even threw out an idea like a salad-style variation. It's a concept that can inspire different takes.
True. And, okay, maybe a trip to Kyushu isn't happening tomorrow, but is it totally out of reach otherwise?
Well, obviously the full experience is best there, visiting Shikairu or trying the Hakata style. But yeah, chains like Ringer Hut make the thin noodle version pretty accessible nationwide in Japan. And the sources also mention frozen versions from companies like Ringer Hut or another one, Mirakuya. So you can sometimes find it to try at home.
Good to know. So it's out there.
It is. More than you might think.
Man, this has been a fascinating deep dive into Sara Udon. We went from its kind of surprising origin, named for a plate, through its split personality evolution.
The thick original and the crispy thin one.
Right, and how it really reflects Nagasaki's history, that whole cross-cultural story, plus the fun of eating it, the textures, the sauces.
It's a fantastic example of how food tells a story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About a place, its history, its people, how it changes, but also stays the same somehow.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with a thought, maybe for you listening. How does a dish end up with two such different forms under one name, yet both feel authentic to the same place? And what does that specific history, naming it after tableware, evolving for practicality, co-developing a condiment, really tell us about how food culture works, how it adapts, and how history shapes what ends up on our plates?